Leaving alone women's football and crossover to some news coming in from golf. I'm sure most of you've ever heard of the man called Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods last week on Friday actually was arrested due to reckless driving. Remember, he was traveling back to his home. He got an accident where his car knocked a truck, and his car rolled over several times. But lucky enough, he was able to be secured when he's alive. And what the court did was to put charges over him due to reckless driving. And remember, sometime back, the same man was also charged of property. Charges were over property ownership there in USA. But apparently, leaving alone that, on Friday, after him getting an accident, he was taken to court of law, where actually he came out and denied all the charges that were put against him. What he did actually was to pull out of the what is called the Riyadh Cup, which is going to take place in Ireland, and Woods was to lead USA's team. This championship is going to be competed by teams from USA. You remember, when we talk of USA, US, yes, pardon me, it is US. That means United States, and that is Europe. When I talk of Europe, you just get to know that some countries from Europe are going to be taking on the United States. So Tiger Woods yesterday came out and said that I'm out of this tournament. I'm not going to be the captain for the team that is a US. Now he has gone down to get a treatment because mentally he's not okay, and physically he was injured. That's why he did pull out of this contention. We are waiting to see who will USA flaunt as their captain in this tournament that is to come in September from 17th to 19th in Ireland. The stadium called the stadium is called the Adaya Manor in Ireland there. Okay, that is it coming in from golf. Tiger Woods is not okay. You remember, sometime back we gave you his background in TV1 Sports. The Tiger Woods, a 15-time major champion. So when he steps down from the USA's team, it is a big blow, but I'm sure USA can overcome that. Okay, leaving alone Tiger Woods, and we cross over to news coming in from Tottenham Hotspurs. Yesterday, but one, they did announce the appointment of the manager in the name of Roberto Di Zerbi. Most of you do remember Di Zerbi at Brighton and Hove Albion. His time there before going to Marseille. He was there and he hoped Brighton and Hove Albion to become a team that most of us did thought at a point they can be able to compete on European continent, if not UEFA Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League if possible. But apparently, when you look at Brighton, ever since he left, the team is going down in terms of performance. What Tottenham Hotspurs did is to make him their permanent manager with a contract of 5 years. But that is not the reason as to why I came up with him. But the pressure is going high day by day. The pressure is coming from the fans and from the players themselves, the likes of Mick van der Ven, the captain Christian Romero. They threatened to leave the club at the end of the season if Roberto Di Zerbi is going to be in charge of this team. Remember, Roberto Di Zerbi, why these players don't want to work under him. He's the man who gave Mason Greenwood hope that he can be able to be a good player. As England was charging him over domestic violence, remember that saga as he was still at Manchester United, but the manager in the name of Roberto Di Zerbi was able to rescue his future when he gave him another chance to showcase his talent. And apparently Mason Greenwood is one of the best performing players when it comes to French League One on his side of Marseille there. And fans, most of the fans have threatened not to come into the stadium if Roberto Di Zerbi is the manager of their team, Tottenham Hotspur. We are waiting to see will the players' voice, rather fans' voice, be heard, or the big men there at Tottenham Hotspur won't pardon to them. They already gave him a contract of 5 years from 2026 to 2031. Okay, that is it for now. What you should do, known to Miss TV One Sports from 3 to 4 p.m. Samderi Kalyango, I'll be joined by my colleague Margaret Rexona to go deep into most of the stories here in Uganda and all over the world. Over to Rita Bakunzi to continue with the new day. Good morning.
Yes, a good morning. Thank you so much for that sports update. And Sam, before you leave, what Christian religion do you practice? Because Sam is a Christian name.
Pardon me?
What Christian? Like, are you born again, Catholic, Anglican? You know, what is it?
I'm a Catholic.
You're Catholic.
Yeah.
You're Catholic. So if you're Catholic, that means you don't know it's Holy Thursday.
But I'm an essential worker. Don't forget that.
Yes, but see, we have to tell our people because today is Holy Thursday. I just remembered, it's that day, Do you know anything that happened on Holy Thursday? Oh, I should just leave you alone.
But what I can tell you, you are invited at my place on Easter.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
You get to know very well my religion there, how we treat people on such days.
Yes, that is Samderi Kalyango for you, always bringing the sports updates, and stay tuned on TV1 at exactly 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. for the TV1 Sports by Samderi Kalyango, still bringing you more details on just on the iceberg. This is just an ice team, so he has more details for you at exactly 3 p.m. right here on TV1. And stay tuned for more sports update by Samderi Kalyango right here on TV1 at exactly 3 to 4 p.m. where he'll be bringing you more details together with his counterpart. As we are done with us, the sports segment, we are back here, and now we have our Today in History segment to be talked about. So today in our history segment, we are going to be talking about the death of Pope John Paul that happened on 2nd of April. He died at the age of 84 years in the Vatican Apostolic Hospital, and he had served as a pope for a period of 27 years. So he served, and during his time as pope, he happened to, he was able to do a lot of missions. So this is what we're going to be talking about, his legacy, how he was as a pope, how he served, how his reign was, and how his leadership was, all driven as we recognize him. And the fact that we are in the Holy Week, of course, it's actually the best thing to talk about such a figure, or the death of such a figure, and what he was able to do. We've been joined by our resident analyst, Dr. Semalo Luchaskek. And yes, Doctor, good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Yes, so how was Pope's leadership, before 2nd of April, when he was able to leave the world? How was his leadership during the 27 years?
Yeah, he stands out as the person that came up with a new approach in the Catholic Church. First of all, he was the first non-Italian Pope, almost in a period of 155 years. For almost 155 years, the Catholic Church was under the leadership of Italian popes. And the last one, of course, from the time of Adrian, I think the 4th or the 7th, while we are talking about all those popes were Italians, almost all that. So between a period of around 155, we didn't have any pope that was not coming from Rome or from Italy. remember that he was coming from Poland. He was a Pole. He was a Polish, he was a Pole. But of course, he was in position to talk about leadership of or what you call the papacy in 1978. And then he reigned up to 2005. It was a little bit very different. But of course, to understand this papacy, you really need to understand how the world was moving right then, because we are talking about the world that was just coming out of World War II. Because when you talk about leadership in 1978, the world was just getting out of World War II. So most of the effects of World War II, including Cold War politics, the divide between America and Russia, the divide between capitalism and socialism, and those were very big factors that were in a position to define the leadership of the church by then. So the Pope stood out too much against socialism, and he was very vocal against socialism, because socialism was a little bit something that was also taking over the leadership of the church, because church has property all over the world. So when you say that everything should be under socialist arrangement, meaning that even the church property was going to be taken up by the state. So he was very vocal against that. Two, he was the most traveled Pope. He was the most traveled Pope because he almost moved all the entire country, the entire world. He visited almost 190 countries, or 160 countries, between 160 and 190 countries. We've not had any Pope that traveled just like him within that period of time. So he traveled a lot. Two, he had several pronouncements that he was in position to do. One of the biggest pronouncements was when he apologized for the church, on behalf of the church rather, after the assassination of a gentleman called Galileo Galilei. There is some Italian scholar who came up and said, that the world is rotating on its axis. Now, back in the days, the leaders of the Catholic Church did take it right, because it was like what we would call like blasphemy. Him coming out with a scientific explanation of that the earth was rotating, it was not something that was taken well by the Catholic Church. So they so much excommunicated him, and they denounced his execution. So when Galileo Galilei got executed, this is in 1600, something around there. But of course, when the Pope took over, he apologized, because at the end of the day, Galileo Galilei was right that the earth is rotating and all. Then he was also in position to be shot by a Turkish young man. And surprisingly, after being shot, of course, he was taken to the hospital. After healing, this gentleman went to the hospital and forgave the person that shot him. So there are so many series of serious events that made Pope John Paul stand out as amongst all the papacy, amongst all the leaders of the Catholic Church. Maybe we don't have to forget that he visited Uganda in 1993. So one of the few African countries that was in position to visit Uganda stands out as one of them. But then President Museveni was still a very young man, received him in 1993. And those are some of the posters some of the images that we grew up seeing in most of our houses, those of us who grew up in our Catholic communities and houses. So it stands out as that, and the fact that he also paved the way for most of the non-Italian popes to come and take over. So that's why after him dying, that's 2005, we don't see an Italian again taking over, because when he dies, a Pope or someone from Poland, we get someone from Germany, that is Joseph Ratzinger. Joseph Ratzinger took over the papacy from 2005, I think, up to 2013, and he took up the name of Benedict the 16th. Of course, after Benedict the 16th or Joseph Ratzinger, we're in a position to have Pope Francis, who died in 2024, and then apparently we have Robert, who is an American Pope. So the idea of changing the papacy, being taken over by the Italians, ended in 1978 after Pope John Paul took over, and then you go to a German Pope, that's Joseph Ratzinger, and then you go to a Pope from Argentina, that's Pope Francis, and now we have an American Pope rather.
Yeah, so he was the first non-Italian Pope in over 650 something years. Over 655 years.
Yeah, 450 something.
Yeah, so but did you know his final words as he was dying?
Yeah, I got a copy of the letter that he wrote when he was going to die too. The Catholic community globally, they wrote a letter to him that letter was supposed to deliver to God.
Yeah,
because definitely
the last one he said, let me say 6 hours before he was announced dead, the last one he said was, "Let me go to the house of the Father." Yeah, those were his final words.
So
he he was a great man of God. So he actually wanted to go and, lay peacefully together with the Father. And then we had over 3 million people that traveled to Rome just to pay their respects. And during his final hours as well, there were tens of thousands that were gathered at St. Peter's Square, praying the rosary, praying for his life. But that was his death. And according to Catholics, of course, when he died, they believe he actually went to the Father because he was a pope. And yes, he actually did, because this was a righteous man. So as actually we've talked about his leadership, how great he was. He traveled. He was a traveler, which is something that he actually, very significant according to his time or his reign as the Pope. So being that we're talking about, religion, I would like to talk about the Holy Thursday, which is today. So our viewers, today is Holy Thursday. It's the day that marks the beginning of the sacred 3 days, the most sacred days in Christianity. That is Good Friday, which is tomorrow. We have Holy Saturday, and then we have Easter. Easter on Sunday, and then I think the Holy Week will be ending. It ends on Monday with Easter Monday. So today is Holy Thursday, and what happened on Holy Thursday? It's when we had Jesus Christ had his Last Supper with the disciples. He also washed the feet of his disciples. So this was him saying goodbye before he went to be crucified on the cross. So that's Holy Thursday. So we are here to celebrate as we talk about the Pope and remember how significant he was during his time as a leader and what he was able to achieve for the Catholic religion. We also have to talk about the fact that a Lent period, the fasting period, is actually coming to an end, and today marks the start of that. Today marks the start of the Holy Week, the start of the 3 sacred days. Yes, and actually, what Jesus did was such a great activity, washing the feet of the disciples. So whenever churches are celebrating this, trust me, they have a service where they do wash at the feet of people. So I think it's starting today in church. I love this activity so much, especially the fact that I went to a Catholic school. We used to have this, the chaplain could wash a feet. It was very much as we could actually relay, the stories of what happened back then. According to the Bible, we get an image, plays are done. So it's very nice to reflect on that. And we are, for the Christians, those that have been fasting, we are happy and we are delighted to have reached at this stage with you. You were fasting, Doctor, right?
Yeah. And what's funny?
No, nothing is funny. You said, confidently.
Yeah, so yes, of course, I decided to be speaking the truth throughout this Lent period, and it's very helpful, by the way. I just ask the Lord to strengthen me so that I can continuously become a truth speaker. It's very good to speak the truth, very, very good, because you don't have to forget, to remember what you said. Yeah, it's very, very good. It's therapeutical, by the way. Like we said, I was sharing with you last time that we lie a lot. We lie a lot, you promise a lot, and we don't deliver. Sometimes but I decided to be speaking the truth, and it's working. It's a very good therapy. So, yes, this is me and my truth. And some of the truth that I have to tell you that, we're almost getting done with it. Did you have something specific that you were going through the period?
No, not really. So then about this Holy Thursday, does it stand out to you in any way, apart from that normal ones that people do know that, Jesus washed the feet, he had his Last Supper with the disciples. Does it stand out to you as a Christian individual?
Yes, of course, with a lot of memories about my dad. With a lot of memories about my dad. My dad was a Catholic catechist. So definitely, I know what you're talking about. The practices that we used to go through back in the days in our communities, we used to so much, they would only clean feet of old people. They would get old people around our community. So they take them to church, and then, a priest comes around, cleanses their feet and all that. So when the priest doesn't come, definitely it was my dad in charge. So definitely I know what this practice means. And the fact that it passed on, may his soul rest in peace. So I have a lot of memories about it, and I certainly know what it means.
Yeah, to me, it represents leadership.
Yeah.
The fact that Jesus was, he's all high and mighty, but he was able to actually wash feet. It shows that leadership. As a leader, you're supposed to serve and lay down and be very calm and humble. So
but it's also a practice that's done by the popes. Each and every pope, whenever they visit a country, they first come down and kiss the ground of that very feet. Actually, Pope Francis, I'm not very, I don't know if I have it right. Either Pope Francis, I think Pope Francis was the imposition to go and visit Salva Kiir and kiss his feet. And everyone was like, wow, how can the Pope kiss the feet of a Dinka man? You know, of course, it's you know, we are looking at it in a racial way, but, you know, because black and white. So definitely looking at Salva Kiir as someone who's not worth. How can the Pope get on his knees and then washes or cleans the feet of Salva Kiir and all that? But of course, there is a lot of humanity in that. There is a lot of kindness in that, and there is a lot of sacred meaning in that. Yeah. So being a leader, it's one of the biggest challenge. It's one of the biggest challenge, and the biggest challenge of leadership is leading yourself. Yeah, people always want to be leaders, but they want to tell other people what to do, but they can't tell themselves what to do. That's why most of us fall short on our own goals and what we want, because it's very, very hard to hold yourself accountable rather, for what you're supposed to do. But it's very easy to point a finger like, yeah, most especially parents. Man, I go but we also don't commit to our own goals and our own values as individuals and our own commitments. So I think the late period has taught me a lot. Yeah, it has taught me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very.
And speaking the truth is the most important part, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, that is what we had for you today in our history segment. The death of Pope John Paul II that happened on the 2nd of April in the year 2005. And with all that, we talked about religion.
Where were you in 2005?
2005, I think I was 2 years.
Oh, really?
So I think
2005, I was in P6, P7. It was in P7.
Okay, so that is actually, I was not 2 years. Yes, I think I was 2 years. I don't know. But yeah, around that, I don't think I was very much aware of what was happening or going on in the world. That's what we had today in history. So we're going to be moving on to our other story of the day, which is the welcoming. The Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi was able to welcome French President, that is Emmanuel Macron, yesterday. And this kind of visit was majorly to talk about defense cooperation, trade, as well as climate change. This kind of visit as well was happened between these two leaders. And it is very much well known that, you know, that French President Emmanuel Macron is a good fan of manga, and also he's very much supportive of Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. So during this visit, they were able to talk about the different bilateral, you know, terms, talk about defense, talk about security, trade, and majorly climate change. But one thing that maybe stands out is, you know, why Japan and France, you know, because, you know, it's such a unique, it's not a cooperation you always hear about, Japan and France, you know, being together, working together. It's a rare kind of, you know, it's a rare kind of bond that you see. So Doctor, the major question is, why did a French president, you know, why did he visit? Because of course, despite the talks that we had, that, you know, despite the common reasons that they gave out, you know, the defense cooperation talks, and then climate change as well as trade, is there any other reason that, you know, could have been able to bind France together with Japan?
Yeah, definitely. So many reasons, most especially when Europe is crashing and NATO is crashing as well. Japan needs allies. Of course, Japan is an extension of the United States of America, because if you look at the geographical location of America, Japan, it's within the Pacific Ocean, and this makes it a little bit easier. And of course, we all know right away from 1945, when World War II came to an end, Japan and America became serious allies. Most of the businesses and most of the companies, the tech companies, the motor vehicle companies that you're seeing in Japan, they were extensions of the motor vehicle companies that are in Michigan, that's Detroit, in the US. So definitely America and Japan are very close. But you don't have to forget Sanae Takaichi, the Prime Minister of Japan, was in Washington last week but won. So Sanae Takaichi, the Japanese premier, he met Trump a week ago, and they had a series of discussions. And one of the issues that were tabled was if the Japanese would come and side behind or back up America when it comes to putting up a joint army that was going to help them take over the Strait of Hormuz, because Iran has been positioned to close the Strait of Hormuz, and America has been looking for allies. Actually, not looking, America has asked for allies to come and help them. You don't forget, Japan almost gets 90% of their oil from Middle East, just like China, just like North Korea, just like South Korea. But of course, it's only Japan and it's only China and South Korea that have been allowed to navigate, to take their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. So definitely, That's one of the issues. So the French need allies, but also Japan needs allies, most especially when they don't have any alternative that can be in a position to give them access to oil. Because all other ports also have other issues because of distance, finance, and all that. So you don't have to forget as well that Emmanuel Macron was in China 2 weeks ago. Now, this is not a coincidence. So you have Sanai Takaichi, the Prime Minister of Japan, visiting America. And then you have Emmanuel Macron visiting Xi Jinping in China. So there is a kind of relationship. China is not very far away from Japan. These are neighboring countries. And also, you don't forget that Emmanuel Macron was also in a position to visit India. Now, these countries are looking for alternatives. They are looking for alternatives, most especially when Trump is abusing them like hell, when Trump has been in position to show them that they are not in good terms. I mean, he's not interested in giving them all the support. So definitely, if you are Emmanuel Macron is almost running his last year because his term is ending next year. So you must be in a position to look for alternative allies. And basically, some of the alternative allies he has been in position to have conversations with China, now Japan. He was in position to move to Germany. He was in position to move to Indonesia at the beginning of this year. So they are seeking out for alternative resources that they can be in a position to have. Two, Emmanuel Macron is also a pro-American person. Yes, they might be in a position to have disagreements with the current American president, but you don't have to forget these are all NATO allies. They can't really give up that kind of relationships. So probably the discussion that was had by Sanai Takaichi representing Japan was not so much, was not so much convincing. You don't get surprised when Trump was in a position to talk to Macron to go and represent him. So it's a little bit hard for us to understand exactly what is taking him there. But of course, we don't have to rule out that the biggest challenge all countries are experiencing, just like how Japan is getting issues with importation of oil, Europe or France is also having those issues. France was getting their LNG, liquid nitrogen gases from Qatar, and one of the sources of their LNG was hit in Qatar. So definitely they all have issues, and the biggest paramount issue that is affecting both countries is the war in Iran. So definitely, we cannot be in a position to really spell out exactly what the intentions are, but we believe that's one of the cardinal aims, and that's just why Emmanuel Macron was in a position to visit Senator Takaichi in Japan.
Yeah, so that's believed to be some of the diplomatic, reasons. The fact that their visit was kind of friendly. So you talked about this, these consecutive visits. We have with Japan. We had in Washington, Senator Takaichi. Then we have Macron in China, 2 weeks before this, and then you have this. So could we say all these states are having some sort of a friendly, alliance? All these different states that have been able to visit, Macron visiting them. Is there some sort of a friendly alliance? Because with Japan, it was very much friendly. They were even able, after their briefing, I think one of the things that has made news, actually, apart from what they actually were able to talk about, it's very funny what happens in the world. So he was able to strike that. If you watched the animation called Dragon Ball. Yeah. Yes, so that animation, there was that post that's like this. So they were able to strike it with, Senator Takaichi after their briefing yesterday. So it's, it's what is actually on, most news platforms. That it's called, it's a Japanese, stance or iconic pose. They always do it. It's called, in Japan, it's called, I think, the Kamehameha. So I think they strike that kind of pose. It shows a lot, it signifies a lot with Japan's culture beliefs. It's very significant. So is it friendly with all these different countries that have been able to visit, just like Japan?
Now, France is sinking. The European countries are sinking just because African leaders, we are very disorganized. This should be one of the biggest opportunities that Africans would use to come together, to come down and develop serious alliances and develop serious, formidable relationships with other powers. This is when countries plan. This is when leadership sit. This is when diplomats engage seriously. Because at the end of the day, power, there is a very, very big shift in world order. The global south and the global north are changing, like seriously. So you really need to ask yourself, what are the discussions that our leaders are having as far as such issues are very concerned? But definitely the point I was making is that France is struggling. We've been talking about the struggles that France has been able to go through. Now, the Ukraine war was one of the biggest causes to the strongest war. Now, most of the Middle East countries, specifically Lebanon, specifically Syria and Iraq, they are the biggest. Actually, Lebanon, Syria, Bahrain and Oman. They are the biggest trading, and Qatar. They are the biggest trading partners of France. Now, all these countries are affected by the Iran-Israeli conflict. So basically, a country cannot wait for the war to end. You have to look out for alternatives. Because by the end of the day, Japan is the biggest manufacturer in Asia when it comes to automotive, when it comes to electronics, when it comes to all that. So definitely you need to look for other resources. Two, all the Middle East countries, France was almost using them as markets, and as well, their biggest, what France was getting mostly from there is number one, selling them weapons, and the two, buying their oil as well. So France is also looking for alternatives of getting other sources of market. So definitely, it's more of looking for an alternative, most especially for France. Yeah, it's more looking for an alternative because at the end of the day, if you look at geographically where Japan is far, very, very, very far away. And they've not have any kind of connectivity between what is happening in the Pacific, that is in Japan, and then you come to Central Europe, where France is. You don't have a little bit of a connectivity in terms of maybe infrastructure and all that. So definitely you have to go and look out. That's why you are in a position to first go to China. Probably you don't know what they had with Deng Ping in China. He's trying to look for alternatives. So I look at this as France being one of the biggest beneficiaries from this alliance.
Yeah, okay. So that is majorly what happened yesterday. This was this visit happened yesterday on the 1st of April. It was so we had different leaders. We had Senator Kaichi together with President Emmanuel Macron, the French president, having this visit majorly to talk about trade, climate change, as well as defense cooperation and how to strengthen their ties. And it was quite it seemed to be a very friendly visit or friendly talk as it was according to by the end of their visit it seemed very much friendly, and we are yet to see what comes of these kinds of bilateral agreements that were put in place. We're going to be having our next segment of the day, which is the Only in Africa segment. This Sankora snake dance has been able to gain a lot of traction, or to gain a lot of visibility from different states, that European states. The Sankora snake dance, it's a dance that signifies a resilience and rebirth, and it is majorly dance on different celebrations, and it originates from East Africa. So it's a dance that originates from East Africa, and it is actually performed on a variety of different festivals in different countries, especially away from Africa. It is highly recognized. So that is the Sankora snake dance for you. So Doctor, what is the Sankora snake dance? What does this dance mean? Culture. What does it simply? What does it? What does it stand for? Culture.
Yeah, like we emphasized that yesterday, each and every society has its own practices, leave alone where everyone thinks that in order to be a good dancer, you have to be dancing like Michael Jackson, or you have to be doing it like Chris Brown, and all that. Actually, even those dances that people like Chris Brown put up, they're cultural dances. They are cultural dances.
Trust me, I'll show you some. Some of them are known. Some of them are very modern and cool dances.
I think we just need to understand the meaning of the word culture here.
Yeah, trust me. I'm like, anyway, let me not go to Chris Brown.
No, you should go there, because at the end of the day, we need to help people understand. Now, first of all, Chris Brown sings R&B, right? R&B is culture music. It's local music in the US. It's local music. R&B is rhythm and blues, just like hip hop. These are cultural dances and cultural songs in America. Therefore, Chris Brown is a cultural dancer in America.
What's culture about the moonwalk?
No. Anything that is practiced within a given society, it's their own culture. Yeah. Just because here we so much want to live in an imported way. We import our cultural values, but we have norms.
Can I give you a small question? You said even Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Yes. So he has the popular dance that everyone knows about him, that is the moonwalk, and he is African. So what is culture? What's culture about that moonwalk?
I don't really know what is the basis of the moonwalk, because Michael Jackson was a different choreographer, and there are so many values, there are so many ways of showing out what he was going through as an individual. So I may not be in a position to speak eloquently about his dancing moves, but I know all dancers, they do it in a specific way. Just like how you can be in a position to go and see a capoeira in Brazil. So just like you see capoeira in Brazil, Chris Brown is a cultural dancer in America. And all those dances that you see them trying to bring out all the emotions, that's how black people were trying to communicate to themselves during the days of slavery. So, point noted, Chris Brown is a cultural dancer in America.
But
So
do you know how the
we-
Sankura snake dance is actually performed?
No, I've not been in position to watch it. Actually, I was trying to look for a clip. I was trying to look at a clip last night, but I didn't so much get it. But this is, for me, I like to so much celebrate the diversity that we have. At the end of the day, we're in a position to talk about the speak dances. What would you do when the Araka people come here from the northern part of Uganda? What about when the Bachiga start dancing here? I think this entire building can collapse because of their sized feet and that energetic. So it's so much points at the diversity that African people have in terms of celebration of our own cultures, and we should so much get them prioritized. Actually, one of the biggest bands or cultural dance group is from Gabon or Guinea-Bissau. You know how much they pay? They are paid. They are paid $25 million to perform, and you have to book them 2 years before. That's how expensive culture is. So it's a way of, trying to let people understand that you don't have to dance like Chris Brown to be cool. No, you can bring your Maganda in some Chibala in Ikololo and maybe celebrate that kind of vibe. And by the way, each and every time they play a song like Kadongo Kam, all people in bars go, like, what? You're like, okay, but the people, so it's a culture is who we are. And whoever feels a little bit embarrassed of their culture, just know ainamu kyatuta MOPD, multi-personality disorder. Yeah.
Okay.
Culture is very beautiful.
Yes, culture is very nice. It's a nice thing. It's a nice concept. And then, going back to the Sankura snake dance, away from the dance we talked about yesterday, that dance that, had a bit of, the warrior dance, the Zulu dance.
The Zulu.
Yes, it has a bit of energy put to it. With the Sankura snake dance, it's a very soft, interesting dance. I'll send you a clip of a snake actually doing that dance. It was captured doing it. So I think that's where it comes from. It is very soft. It is a very calm dance. Of course, as you can see, snakes are not like energetic, beings. So and you know how snakes are built, they are just like long and all. So there is a snake, it's very smooth, trust me, it's nice. It's like, it's so for people that do that dance, it involves more of waist movement, and waist movement, it's just beautiful, it's very nice. Especially
for women.
So and it's actually performed a lot, it's performed on very many festivals abroad. Even Indians, if you've seen Indians do that dance, they do, those Indian ladies.
Yeah, Indians have
their saris that, when the West is out, it's very beautiful.
Indians have a very good relationship with the snakes. Actually, even here, in our African history, even the Bible says we should be as wise as, Abana Misota.
Yes. What the snake did in the Bible.
No. I've said African. Yeah. Actually, we have a god that is represented by a snake in African culture, which is called Wajeti. Yes, it's called the Wajeti. It has, it's a symbol. Actually all Egyptian pharaohs, on their crown, they used to have that. It's called the symbol of Wajeti. That's one of the most powerful, spiritual realms that are spiritual diets that Africans used to have, most especially in the Great Kemet back in the days. So the waist and the dances, or actually, if you talk about the snake, is so much a representation of the feminine energy in terms of not women, but feminine energy in a.
With the softness, yes, I agree. We are very soft individuals, but that is what we had in our in Africa segment. The Sankura snake dance, a very soft dance, which is it celebrates a traditional dance. It's a dance, it originates from East Africa, and it is highly, taken on by different people abroad. It's highly put up in different festivals and highly recognized. So that's what we had for you today in our edition of New Day. Do not forget, today is Holy Thursday. It is it's the day before the start of the 3 most sacred days in Christianity: Good Friday, which is tomorrow, Holy Saturday, as well as Easter Sunday, and Easter Monday, which is going to be Monday next week. So we congratulate everyone who was taking part in this late period, people that were fasting, and that's all. Stay tuned. We have Skilling Uganda coming up next. We have Bits and Bites later on.
Are you going to wash your feet?
I go to church, so of course I love.
Today are you going to get your feet washed?
Yes, of course I'm going to church. So if they are washing, okay, I'll gladly take that on. But that's what we had. Stay tuned on TV1. We have Skilling Uganda coming up.